Hi there, I took a trip to Walmart yesterday and I found out that they were having a closeout on a lot of their sequin trims, so I thought I'd pick some up. So I ended up buying 13 1/4 yards of sequin trims for $4.03. The single strand sequins was 10 cents a yard. They didn't have many colors left. I was able to get the hot pink, the gold, and the red, and I thought red's going to be really nice for Christmas outfits. As far as the sequin elastic bands, they were 75 cents a yard, so I was able to get only three colors. I got the red, the hot pink, and the silver. What I found out is it takes about a foot, 12 inches of the stretch sequins to get around the doll's head. So for every yard you buy, you can get 3 headbands, or you can get a headband and a belt to go around your doll's waist. And I thought, that's cute. So that's a quarter, 50 cents, and you can really snazzy up an outfit. And it can just be everyday wear. It doesn't have to be a fancy evening gown either, because, you know, a lot of girls like, you know, the glitter on their clothes. So that was how I made these two. And it's not hard to sew on. I was surprised how easy it was to sew on. This is the single strand. I tried the single strand, and what I did on the single strand is, this was just an example of what you can do with it. I made a little sleeve and I sewed the, I used a contrasting thread so you can see what I did. I sewed the single strand sequins across the bottom of the sleeve for a little color and shine. But if you contrast, I mean, if you complement your sequins with your fabric, of course it's going to look a lot cuter. And for 10 cents a yard, you can't beat it. So I'm going to show you how easy it is. Here's a scrap piece of paper, a scrap piece of fabric, and because I don't want my sequins to get caught in my needle, this is a standard everyday universal needle. I'm using white thread. Of course, if I was doing it for real, I would try and match my sequin trim as close as possible. Okay, for my foot, I'm going to use the 1/4 inch straight stitch foot. And the reason I'm doing that is the hole is only this. You have to make sure your needle's in the center position or you'll break your needle. But this will hold the sequins down while we're actually sewing them on the machine. So let me change this one out. I'm going to keep the white thread in so you can see the contrast. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to make sure my machine is center, go into the center, so that's 350 for me. And then I'm just going to go to a 3mm stitch. So since this is just practice, I'm just going to show you how that, I don't want to waste too much more of this, but just to show you how easy it is to sew. Let's just say this was the bottom of a sleeve. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that down, do a back stitch, and then just go straight forward. Okay, that's all I'm going to sew. My thread got caught. But that's how easy it is to sew that sequence on. That's sequin trim on. You don't have to have any fancy stuff. I know I read up on it. It said use the silicone spray on your needle so it doesn't stick, but on this trim you really don't need it. But if you wanted to do like a gathering on there, you'd probably want to do this by hand, because you're not going to get that nice movement when you machine sew the sequins on. So if you want to have a really nice movement in your fabric, you're going to want to sew your sequins on by hand. But that's how you'll do it on the machine if you're going to do it that way. Okay, so that's the single strand. So for the headbands or the waistbands or the belts, since we're sewing on the wrong side of the sequins, you can just use any pressure foot you want. presser foot you want. Okay, so this is my last. I've already made 2 out of this silver and I only bought a yard. So let's see, what do we got here? We've got a little bit more than a yard of this elasticized sequin fabric trim. So I can do a little bigger seam if I want to. So I'm going to go ahead and put them, make sure that you get them back to back so they're not, you know, crossed over or anything. So you can go ahead and just line those up. You can get a needle in there if you need to. You just work it in through the sequins and that will hold them together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to a smaller stitch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sew across here. Now if I was going to make a waistband for the Journey Girls, I'd only do 10 inches of this silver because 12 inches will fall right off of the doll. Okay, so let's just keep sewing. You might have to give it a little bit of help to get through. So make sure you pull your needle out when you get to that point in the stitching. So make sure it stays centered. Okay, so when I get to the other side, instead of back stitching, I'm just going to pick up and turn around and then come back the other way. And I'm going to do that about 2.5 times just to give it some security. You're probably going to lose a couple sequins. Okay. Okay, so what I've done on the other ones, I have cut down to probably, let me see if I can see my stitches. Here's my stitches. I've cut down to about 1/4 inch down to where I did my stitching. Just cut them off. And if you don't want that seam in the middle, what I've done on the other ones is I've turned them to one side like this. Get rid of these threads. I've turned them to one side and then I've taken a needle and thread and I've re-sewed them down just to secure them and keep all these threads in one place. So go ahead and just get a needle. If you look really close at this, you can see there's a braid going down the one side for the elastic. So you'll be able to catch your needle in that. And then you can come up to the other side. And then just go back and forth across the seam so that it'll lay flat and look nice when you put it on the doll. So you don't have a big old seam lump on there. You're just smoothing it out just so it looks nice. And just keep going back and forth. And it also will secure the seam. Okay, just keep doing that until you get it, and then you can, and then once you do that, you don't have that big old lump, and you can see where the seam goes. Okay, so I'm not going to finish that off, but there you go. So now I have a headband, or I have a belt for the dolls, and this is the one I used in the the doll costume. This one is got her hair cut. This one is the 2-inch one, and it works for a headband also on the dolls. You can even use it for a waistband. I didn't make this one. They didn't have any of the 2-inch for sale at Walmart. This one I bought at Joann's, but you can do the same thing with these. So if you want to bling up your daughter's doll clothes or your doll clothes, they're really a cute little way of doing it. And you can get some really cute stuff out of them. And for 10 cents a yard, you really can't beat it. Okay, so I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.